Welcome into Win the Line, presented by the 33rd team. My name is Tanner Kern, joined alongside former CFL defensive lineman Maxx Forde. We were off last week because of Thanksgiving, but we're back this week. But we still need to talk about probably the biggest national holiday for a lineman in the world, honestly. So, Max, my question to you is, hot take right away here. How many pounds of turkey were consumed by offensive and defensive linemen in the NFL?
Man, that's a fun question there. Maybe a little bit of turducken mixed in, but rough math, you say probably around 6 defensive linemen, 7 offensive linemen, so about 13 guys. Just for that math, I'm going to make that 10 guys. So we'll inflate it a little bit at the end, and then 32 teams. Yeah, so that's 10 times 32, 320, obviously, and then, like I said, I'll inflate it a little bit. Let's just roll that up to 500. I think some of those guys probably eat a little bit more than some of your average lineman. So you get some of those guys like the Vita Vea type guys. He might add a little bit more poundage there for you.
Yeah, definitely. The interior defensive linemen are definitely doing more than defensive ends, and the whole offensive line is just chowing down. I think the sides are a big hit too, though. Like I eat a lot. Probably never do a pound of turkey just because I'm always into the side. So I don't know if you're like that too.
Oh yeah, that sweet potato casserole or green bean casserole, mashed potatoes, all that stuff, man. Can't miss.
Definitely. Well, we still got a year till we get back to doing it again, but it's good to talk about it. Good to talk about Thanksgiving in general. So we get a Thursday night game here. The Dallas defense going against the Seattle offense. Our first mismatch. Couple injuries to note in this game. Seahawks offensive guard Phil Haynes is not going to play. He is out. And then Kenneth Walker III, I know he's a running back, but definitely worth mentioning for the Seahawks. He is doubtful to play in this game. And Seattle's really been struggling to find that consistent run game without him. Dallas is a team that hasn't beaten a team above 500 yet. They did have 4 sacks for 32 yards against the Commanders. They're beating up on bad football teams. But Max, how much do you take that dominance against bad teams into a matchup against a good team and look at it from a betting angle?
Well, yeah, they've had that dominance against bad teams, but they do still have the personnel. I know they haven't quite gotten that victory against one of those good teams over 500, but they've got guys that, can give you problems. You've got, obviously, Micah Parsons, the headliner, but you've got DeMarcus Lawrence, you got Jonathan Hankins, you got Osa in there in the middle there. I don't know how to say his last name. Sorry to him, but you got some guys in there that can make things difficult on the defense and on the offense. Sorry, and yeah, Seattle's tried a number of combinations in there on the offensive line, and I know a lot of that's due to injury, and I just think that this group can give those guys a lot of problems because they can come from anywhere. Like, I know I don't want to go in on Micah Parsons too much because we always are, but that guy has the kind of versatility that you can line him up in a whole number of places, and he can do a lot of different things. He doesn't just rush, but he can rush. He might drop, and so you have to count him. And that offensive lineman might be counting a guy that's just going back and taking a deep half or something. Like it's got to make it tough. What's that like for you as an offensive lineman when you got a guy that can do so many different things?
It's so hard. And I was never playing on the edge, playing tackle in college. But when I was playing center, when you get a defensive tackle that can work a bull rush, can work speed, can just do it all and beat you in so many ways, it really gets you thinking, like, what is he going to do here? And how am I going to combat it? And then you start guessing and he does the other thing. And then you're really in trouble there too. So the biggest thing, you just got to get on them early as an offensive lineman, get into your set quick, get back so you can see what they're going to do and react to it. And then also be the aggressor with some jump sets too. I think we're going to see that a lot out of the Seattle offensive line just to slow down Dallas, possibly some cut blocks and pass protection, and a lot of quick game here because you can't sit back in the pocket. Geno Smith, he's a quarterback that he does not work great under pressure. So the biggest thing for Seattle offensively, I think, is probably get rid of the ball quickly and don't give Dallas a chance to make plays against you. So moving into our next game here, Cleveland Browns defense versus the LA Rams offense. Another quarterback that doesn't work great under pressure right now, Matthew Stafford. Credit to the Rams, though. They've been very good up front. They have the 6th and least sacks allowed per game this season. They've only allowed 0.7 sacks over their past 3 games on average. The Browns were beat up by the Broncos here, but again, it was a situation where Cleveland's offense didn't necessarily help them out here. So how do you see this matchup playing out between Cleveland's defense and the LA Rams offense?
Yeah, I do think that number comes up a little bit for the sacks allowed. I think Cleveland has a superior defensive line to LA's offensive line there. I think you got a guy again, I don't want to talk about the headliners that everybody knows about, but like you got a guy like Myles Garrett that he's playing some of the best ball, and I know he sat out some of the game last week because he's a little dinged up. But you got him in there for the important snaps where you need a play. You're going to go lean on that guy, and then you got across from him, you got Zadarius Smith, and to me, he's probably the highest motor edge in the NFL. Like sometimes it doesn't look pretty, but he just has that kind of intensity where he keeps coming after you, and then he makes the play kind of a guy. And so you got guys like that, and I think it matches up well against LA, where going into the film, there's times where I see it doesn't look like they're giving the most effort, which is something that really, it's probably personally one of my things that I can't stand is when, like, that's the one thing that you shouldn't have the coach's effort, because everybody can do it. And sometimes, like, it looks like they're kind of going through the motions. They have kept guys off the quarterback, but I think this is a matchup. You got guys with the talent, you got guys with that effort, and I think they can kind of switch up the narrative there. So
definitely. I think we're going to see a lot more effort and inspired effort out of this Cleveland Browns defense, just because losing 29-12 to the Broncos last week wasn't pretty. Again, the offense did not help them out. So if you're betting this game, I would not look at going under on the LA Rams team total. Even though the Cleveland defense is so good, when you look at this LA team right now, they might be set up very well with the offensive situation going on for the Browns. So just something to consider there. But if you're looking for a defensive mismatch, Cleveland versus the LA Rams offense is one. It's probably one of the biggest in the NFL this week. A surprising team on here. We don't talk about them much. The Miami Dolphins defense going against the Washington Commanders offense. I'm not high on the Dolphins defense. Again, they're the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC. They still are looking for, they did beat the Denver Broncos. They hung 70 on a team that is now 6-5. But besides that, they have not beaten a team above 500. I do love Christian Wilkins, though, one of the most explosive defensive tackles in the game. I personally think this unit's a little underrated, but they're also not the best in the world. So what have you seen from Miami this season, first of all?
Yeah, they're a team that on my midseason D-line rankings that you can find there at the33rd-team.com. Shameless plug. I think they came in there around the middle. They have some talent. They haven't, like you said, they haven't been like setting the world on fire, but they do have some guys that can make things happen. And I think that they have upside too. They got guys like Christian Wilkins. They've got Jalen Phillips, who's a younger edge that you see kind of those glimpses of what you want to see there. They've got Bradley Chubb, who has taken over a game here and there, but he's not really consistent at doing it. So they've got guys that can make you pay, but they're not really. They haven't become that cohesive unit that can do it week in and week out. But this just is a great matchup, I think, for them to be able to put one of those games together where it is the kind of game that you want to see them have and have consistently.
Yeah, the reason I love Miami in this spot is the sense of Washington is going to throw the ball down the field, but they're really going to have to do it against this Miami team because the Dolphins should score. So that's going to put Sam Howell in tough situations. And we have a young quarterback going against a defense that can get after the quarterback with a very shaky offensive line that just really hasn't settled in this season. I think Miami is a very good play and a very good mismatch here. Moving into our final mismatch. This might be the biggest mismatch of all time, honestly. The New England Patriots just are not a good football team. They can't protect at all. You got Trent Brown and David Andrews, who are both questionable against the LA Chargers defense. Joey Bosa's on the injured list, doesn't necessarily help this Chargers team. They still have Khalil Mack, who's at the top of the sack board in the NFL right now, competing to ultimately be the sack leader in the NFL, which is crazy, along with Danielle Hunter and some other guys. But New England will lean on the run in this game. I see LA loading up the box, and I don't see the Patriots having success. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, man. I think that, like you mentioned Khalil Mack there. There's a guy that he started slow, but he had that 6-sack game and really kicked it off, man. Like he's caught fire. Obviously, they're missing Joey Bosa, who had been doing very well across from him, but they've got a third guy there, now their second guy, in Tui Pelotu, who have been playing really well. And so I think, this again is a matchup where they've got an offense that can make the opponent try to pass the ball. And so they've got that kind of pass rush from the edges that, I mean, it scares you. The offensive tackle, I know you said you typically weren't an edge guy there in college, but I know those edge guys, they got to deal with that speed because they're on the island. In the middle, you get to work with that guy next to you a little bit, but you got edge rushers like that in situations where you got to pass. I can't imagine that it's comfortable getting into that stance, just knowing that He's not going to play the run. You're behind the sticks. And yeah, you got Khalil Mack coming at you with that get off. You got a great bull rush. One of the best guys at getting the ball out too. So I think this is one where they can really pin their ears back.
Yeah, this is just an ideal matchup for the LA Chargers team in general. I mean, they're not a great team. We know that. They haven't been able to figure it out. Brandon Staley's probably not going to be there next season. This could be Bill Belichick's new team, honestly. But Patriots can't throw the ball down the field. That's the one area where you can really beat the Chargers is vertically down the field. Quick game-wise, Patriots don't have that much explosiveness, and then their offensive line just is not going to be able to handle this Chargers front seven. So not a good matchup for the Patriots. Yeah. Moving into our budget plays, under $3,000, Max. I don't know about you, but looking through this week's budget plays, pretty shaky options for that under $3,000 price point. We're going to start with the Denver defense going against the Houston offense here. Denver getting hot at the right time, outside of the 70-20 game against Miami, they have been playing pretty well. I like Zach Allen a lot in the interior. They have some good linebackers, Nick Benito, and then Jonathan Cooper as well. And then Houston solely really relies on CJ Stroud to get the job done. So why do you like Denver against Houston?
First off, like you said, the options are shaky down there. I think we're starting to get an idea of who's who as far as offenses that they're going against and the defenses that are playing. So the prices are kind of getting dialed a little bit more, and those under $3,000 prices are shaky. But I like Denver out of that group this week just because, like you said, they are getting hot. They still can be got in the run game, but that's not really what Houston's doing. They're beating people with that rookie quarterback out there, CJ Stroud, airing it out. And Singletary's had a game or two, but it's not really the ground game is not Houston's strength. So I think Denver matches up well. They've got guys that can get to the quarterback, and they've got a secondary too that has some guys that can make you pay when you make bad decisions back there. So I think this is a good matchup for that under 3,000 category with that caveat.
Definitely. And I always go back to the offense of the team that we're actually playing here. So Denver, I look at their offense, and the spot is Denver's best friend. The defense's best friend, because the offense for Denver leans on the run. They control the clock, and they've done it very well as of late. So when Denver is not on the field, it's paying off for your DFS play because you're not losing points. And then you should put Houston in tough situations where they're going to have to go score with limited time, or when they're playing behind the sticks, or behind on the scoreboard as well. So I just really like this matchup. But again, the options are very limited in that $3,000 range. I like it better than our next pick here, and that's the New Orleans defense against the Detroit Lions offense. Detroit's offense can pop off at any time. They have been turning the ball over a little bit more, but why are you leaning towards the New Orleans defense for your DFS lineup?
Yeah, like you said, they've been turning the ball over a little bit more. I know Jared Goff normally takes care of the ball very well. Last couple of games, that's not been the case. Last game was more fumbles, but the Saints are really good at producing interceptions as well. You can get that pressure on the quarterback, and they've got guys on the back end that can make those plays. So, I also think the Saints have an underrated line there. It's not one of the tops in the league, but I think that they do have a solid group up front. Obviously, Cam Jordan's the guy that everybody's going to talk about, but Carl Granderson's been making plays. The rookie Brian Breesy's been making plays. Colin Saunders, you see making plays on offense sometimes, kind of calling back to the fullbacks being like defensive linemen. Love that mentality. But you got guys in the trenches there that can make life uncomfortable. But you're going against the Lions in a dome, so that's a little bit scary too. Like we said, under $3,000, not a fun place to be right now. But if we're going to pick down there, I think this is one that you can take a shot at the range of outcomes. There's definitely things in the range of outcomes that can fall your way.
Yeah, definitely. A lot's going to have to go your way in this one. That's why I'd lean towards the Denver defense against Houston, because like you said, the way Texans are going to win, it's by CJ Stroud, where the Lions have a variety of guys that can beat you. You also have a really good offensive line, Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, like just guys that can protect. So if they can do a rhythm, it could be a long day. But if they play like they did on Thanksgiving Day, this could be an excellent matchup for you, and one that could help win your DFS contest this week as an underrated pick there. So Max, again, I'm going to ask you if you had to pick Denver defense or New Orleans defense, which one would you lean towards and why?
Yeah, this week I'm going to have to agree with you there. Take the Denver defense. I know CJ Stroud is doing things that we've never seen from rookie quarterback. and maybe it's just the stubbornness in me, but if you got to choose between a rookie quarterback and a guy that's been playing a little bit more, gonna try to play against that rookie quarterback, because eventually, yeah, I mean the guy looks like he's a legitimate, like he's gonna be threatening for MVPs here quickly, and so good quarterback, but rookie quarterbacks make rookie mistakes sometimes. He's got to. It's just got to happen sometimes.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the Denver defense is just positioned better because there are a few less weapons on that Houston team than Detroit has as well. So that was Win the Line for week 13, Max. Good to be back. Good after our Thanksgiving break to be back talking some offensive and defensive line play. Make sure check out the 33rd team for all your fantasy and betting news that you need to know. Also, Max, your rankings are up there. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so did midseason rankings for both the offensive and defensive lines. Like you mentioned, Detroit very high up there from our offensive line rankings. But yeah, you can find those over at the 33rd team. I think offensive line was published, I want to say 2 weeks ago, and then defensive line last week, or maybe add a week to both of those. But they've been up there for a little bit, and we'll circle back and do it again before the playoffs start for the teams that are going to be playing there. So
there you go.
Yeah, go look out for them.
Well, make sure you guys check those out. Check out all the content on the 33rd team, and we will see you next Wednesday for another episode of Win the Line.